Hi everyone, thanks for joining me today. The tutorial today is going to be on how chemotherapy affects someone's toenails, and a very dear client has allowed me to film his pedicure today to show you exactly that. So after you remove the foot from the foot bath, you want to dry it off really well. Use the towel to go in between the toes to remove any moisture. Any dead skin that's in between there will also come off. I'm not going to show you the filing of the feet and the foot scrub today. I'm just going to focus on the toenails and the cuticle care. So we're going to apply our liquid cuticle remover. Put a generous amount around the nail plate. This stuff works really quickly. It's called Blue Cross. It's the best cuticle remover I've ever used on the market. Get out your tools. We're going to use a knife cuticle pusher, acrylic nippers to trim his toenails, because you all know how I hate fingernail clippers. If you don't, you can watch my video on fingernail clippers. Insert the tip of the nippers on the side of the toenail and gently work across the nail plate. He trimmed his toenails a little bit in between because he had to go a little bit longer before he could come back in town to see me. He moved to North Carolina about a year ago, but has been coming back every month to see me. So I finally figured out how to use my editing software a little bit better. How exciting is that? So now I can get really close. You see a very close-up view of everything. So now we're going to file the edge of the toenails. When you clip the toenails using the acrylic nippers, you should be able to shape them really nicely. So when you use your file, you're literally only taking off any little rough edge and perfecting the shape. There's a tiny bit of dead skin right there. I'm going to go ahead and file that with the fingernail file and then use my nippers to remove it. My client went through chemo about a year ago, and so far this toenail is almost completely grown out, and the big toe is just about all the way grown out too. But you can see on his third toe, his middle toe, there's a tiny little white line that's going down the nail, and that was caused from the medication he had to take. And on this big toenail, the same thing, but it's growing back really well. It's just lifted up a little bit, and I know with a lot of new nail technicians, it would be hard for you to tell the difference between what is a fungus and what is an after effect of taking a medication like chemo. I switched to slow motion so you can see this really well. We're going to use our knife end of our cuticle pusher to push back the cuticles, and I want to let you know that you see the back of the cuticle moving. You want to push past where you think the cuticle ends, so the pusher scoots backwards a little bit underneath the cuticle, because there's a lot of dead skin that it has adhered underneath there. Sometimes you could just not push back far enough, and then very quickly it's going to look like they have pterygium attached to their nail plate. So you want to be sure to try to get off as much as you can. And any little bit of stubborn skin that won't come off, you don't want to fight with it forever, because I know you have clients one right after the other just like me, and you have to get your timing down. So you're going to go around the cuticle, get off as much as you can. Anything that's left we're going to get with the buffer block, and then after the buffer block, if that doesn't remove the rest of it, then we're going to go back with our nippers. So I'm just doing small circular motions, pulling down the sidewalls, pushing back, and pulling out any debris that's underneath there. So you can see here, the skin will change colors a little bit. See how I'm pushing back further? That's not uncomfortable at all. Don't be afraid to push back a little bit further. You're not going to hurt anybody. You'll know how much pressure you're using, whether or not you think it's going to be painful. And if you don't know, then just practice on yourself, and then you'll know how it feels to have that extra push a little bit. Always go down the sidewall. Some people may only focus at the back of the nail, but you need to get the dead skin off of the sidewalls too. I'm switching tools here to remove any buildup from underneath the nail plate where it's lifted a little bit still. It's a Miha's tool. I can't remember off the top of my head right this second what the item number of it is. But it's nice and flat and long, so I can get underneath to pull out anything that's built up. And in a second I'm going to go in slow motion so you can see how far back it goes and just a better viewpoint. So you can see through the nail. Now watch through the nail. See the dark spot? That's the tool. So you always want to be looking through the nail so you know how far to push. And it's not necessary to try to get all the way back to the peak of where that's lifted. You just want to get out the majority of the buildup. And the buildup is just, it's like soap scum that collects on your shower at home. It's bubbles, shampoo, and dead skin. So now we're going to go back and use our little buffer, buff across the nail plate, any little pieces of dead skin that are still attached to the cuticle. You just buff the skin too, just really lightly. That's an individual use little tiny white buffer block. It's 240 grit, so it's really fine. If you can't get it off, then go ahead and pick back up your tool. Try to remove it that way. And then you're going to nip off any little bit of leftover pieces with your nippers. This is a really wonderful sea salt scrub. It smells like tangerine. Clients really enjoy it. Feels great on their skin. Helps moisturize and exfoliate. I'm not going to show all of this in the pedicure. I just edited it all out because I couldn't change my camera vantage point to allow showing all of it. So it's time for the next foot. We're going to do all the exact same steps on the other foot. Get in between the toes. Apply your cuticle remover. You always want to apply your cuticle remover before you trim the toenails so the cuticle remover has enough time to start being effective. And I always apply a second coat before I file the toenails. It just gives it a little bit of oomph. Sometimes it's a little tricky when you're doing someone's pedicure that you can't reach their pinky toenail. And what you do is you have them lean their knee toward the center and twist their ankle toward you a little bit, and you'll be able to get to that pinky toenail a lot better. So this toenail has done a lot better than the right foot. It's grown up faster. So we have great hope that the other one is going to start reattaching. You'll see on that big toe the white debris that's protruding from underneath of it. That's the old lifted up part when it detached. It's attached to that nail. And so we're going to remove that. Once all of that's grown out, then everything will be reattached underneath. It's almost like a little callus. And if you haven't watched my video on what causes damage to the nails and filing in one direction does not prevent damage, you should watch it. It's not necessary to only file in one direction. A lot of times we do to try and get the right shape. But if you're using the right amount of pressure and angle on a nail file, you are not going to rip up the nail plate. And it's not going to cause splitting and peeling. But you will have to use the appropriate pressure and the appropriate angle of the file. So check out that video. Okay, so here's that little callus part of the skin. And I put that in slow motion just so you could see it better. And then I use the flat part of my file to file the tip of the toe to remove the rest of it. So you'll see me here trying to keep the toe in a position that I can see it. When you're working on someone's feet, it's really hard to keep good body posture and to be able to see their toenails. We're so busy leaning forward constantly, but it kills our back and kills our neck. So use your fingers to push their toe down so it bends, so you can see easier, so you can sit up and it doesn't hurt your neck or your back. I am the perfect candidate to preach that to you because I've had to have 2 fusions in my neck, and it's not fun to have to go through that surgery from repetitive use injuries over the years. Okay, it's time to use our cuticle pusher again. The milky color of the cuticle remover kind of hides some of that dead skin. So sometimes if you can't see it well, the cuticle remover's done its job. Take the edge of your towel and wipe it off so you can see what you're doing. Don't guess. Just get rid of it so you can see exactly where that skin is and you can remove it. So you can see that all of the other toenails on this foot look really great. They don't have any of the other effects that those two big toes and the middle toe on the other foot do. But they did used to. So it's good to know that after people go through something like that, things do get back to normal. And he is doing really well. So we're happy about that too. So you can see that white line, it's like a ½ millimeter right above the cuticle, and that is tergium that's stuck to his nail plate. So I'm just doing little circles trying to get rid of it, and it's just, it won't budge right now. So I'm going to use my buffer block, and I'm going to get that off when I buff, because if you spend too much time trying to be absolutely perfect, you're going to run super behind for your next client. So remember, you always do have other tools in your arsenal to use. Something that you don't see me doing, because I've already done it, is I've taken my nail file and I've run it across those sharp edges of this buffer to break it down, because there is a chance, even though I squish it and squeeze it and try to soften it up, there is a chance that if I'm pressing too hard and run it too quickly across somebody's edge of their nail wall, it can slice them. So you want all of those edges broken down so that abrasive that's on the spongy square are nice and soft, so they don't end up cutting anybody. So right now you can still see some debris on his toenails. Because I'm going to be applying the salt scrub and then doing a massage, and then there's going to be cleanup at the end, everything's not going to be off right now, but by the end of the pedicure it is all going to be off. If you have a tricky piece of skin that won't come off, let it soak again. It will be much easier to come off after a second soak. I'd like to mention something that you won't see me doing because it's just not in frame, but I am doing it. Clients really don't want to see how much stuff you're taking off. Somebody might be watching what you're doing and talking to you the whole time, but stuff accumulates on those nippers, and if you don't wipe them off occasionally, like every couple of toes, some of that buildup can like fall off onto the nail, and you know, they just think, ooh, gosh, I've got a lot of dead skin. They don't need to see that. So just wipe it off. It's not a big deal. It's just dead skin, and keep going so they don't ever have to, you know, look at it. They don't need to be looking at it. So just keep wiping it off so your nippers are clean and nothing's gonna fall off onto their nail plate while you're working. Okay, so that's today's pedicure tutorial on how to do a pedicure on someone who has been through chemotherapy and cleaning out from underneath those nails that are lifted up. I totally forgot to put cuticle oil on in the frame that I was filming, so you're going to want to do that after you're finished. He's a male, so he does not get polish. To make up for that, I just give a longer massage. So thanks for joining me. Have a great day.